So we are going to start off the session and with nature's blessings, we are going to look forward to the top 100 teams gathering all the knowledge they can on how to build their minimum viable product. As always, my name is Desika Pravakar, founder and director of the Purpose Foundation, and we have our darling COO of the Purpose Foundation, Lakshmi is here to give us a very, very awesome introduction about an amazing speaker we have today. Especially this speaker is super, super special because she is the first female speaker by God's grace and all the power. I was like, I really want to bring someone, so far we had all amazing male speakers, but really wanted some feminine energy who can really bring a different perspective to the space. And she is like the best. You will see it from the introduction itself, the way the preparation and the questions she had before, so that she can give you the maximum, value out of this session. Just shows how empathetic and how she's so concerned about giving value to you guys. So we should make the best out of this, and let's hear the lovely introduction from Lakshmi.
Good evening, guys. Thank you for joining us today for what promises to be an enlightening session on, as ma'am said, like a minimum viable product stage, which is said to be the most crucial phase in any startup journey. So we are very thrilled to have with us an extraordinary speaker, Ms. Smita Yedekar, a first-generation serial entrepreneur with a remarkable track record in building and scaling software products globally. As a mentor to many startups, she has served as an independent director and an influential member of many advisory boards. Her leadership as a charter member at the Indies Entrepreneurs Association, that is TIE Pune, and as a mentor at DSCI's National Center of Excellence Accelerator is widely recognized. She also shares like a Nurture 13 Accelerator program at TIE Pune, driving innovation and nurturing the next generation of tech leaders. Currently, ma'am is focusing mainly on strategy and growth for early stage companies in critical areas like cybersecurity, data privacy, SaaS, and other tech-enabled business. And she's also pursuing a doctoral degree in generative AI, showing a commitment to staying at the forefront of technology advancements. In her entrepreneurial journey, she has been founding Smart Sourcing Global Incorporation in 2006, which is said to be leading in its expansion across the US and Southeast Asia. She's also co-founded One Mobility, an enterprise mobile security product, which is set to caught the attention of Silicon Valley and was acquired later by Qualys in 2018. We couldn't be more excited to hear from her as she'll be sharing her insights on navigating the MVP stage, turning all your ideas into impactful products. Please join me in welcoming our speaker of the day, Ms. Smita Yedekar. Thank you, and happy welcoming you all.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Let's give it up for our speaker of the day, our darling Smita ma'am, a global name, first generation entrepreneur. As you heard it, like she has done it all, and we are just super, super, super grateful to have her here. Such an awesome soul, going to give us so much of her wisdom and all that hard work, all that journey, all that energy she's going to bring today. So thank you guys for the warm welcome.
Good evening, and thank you so much for being here on a Thursday evening. I know in the past you have had really fabulous sessions. And before I start, I just want to also say that Desika and Obilakshmi, they've been very, very kind. Thanks for your kind words and just making me feel that I was special. I have to tell you, I'm one of you who is work in progress, right? You're never done, you've never achieved enough. But I guess today we are here to discuss and communicate with each other what we know about MVP. In the past, probably have looked at idea validation and other topics, right? So during the session, I guess we can keep it on the chat for some time. And then we will actually look at what you're doing and how to apply this whole MVP concept to that. So I would rather have more interactions than just one-way communication. Having said that, just give me, you can type in just to keep it quiet on the, on the line. How many of you already have started working on your venture? If you have started, say yes in the chat. I see one. Excellent. Oh, wow. Excellent. And is this your first time entrepreneurship? All right. And I'm not going to ask you whether you like it or not. I'm just going to assume that you really, really love it. Certainly entrepreneurship is such a rewarding experience, and it has been that for me, right? And typically, you would say that somebody is successful if they have a commercial success. And that's the reality, right? You may have ideas, you may have fabulous products that you build, but what makes it successful is its commercial success and success in the hands of end users. And so we're going to touch base on, how to really get there, right? How many of you know about MVP? Have you heard about it? Say yes now. There are 46, I guess, people on the line, so I should hear more, answers here. Excellent. Okay. You have heard. Oh, you haven't heard. All right. No problem. All right. So, any of you who have heard about it, what do you understand by MVP? Just one word. Don't write long explanations, but usable prototype. All right. Anybody else? You can Google and then type. All right. I'm not seeing any other answers. Proof of concept. Okay. Minimized version of our product, okay? Excellent. I guess you have some idea. And what we will do is we'll a small prototype with viable solution probably. That's what you meant. All right. Let's explore this a little bit. Whatever you're saying is absolutely right in some or the other way. So let's go into the details, right? Now, when you start a venture and when you have an idea, right? Now, the idea is typically to solve a problem. Is that right? You build something to solve a problem. Yes. Now, let's see, in your journey of that idea, building the product, really bringing it to the end users, what's involved? And you know it, but let's go a little bit deeper on the path you may want to take so that it's more successful, right? Yeah. So let's say if you're super hungry, right? And somebody says to you that, you'll have to wait for some time. I'm going to really cook a 5-course meal for you. What's going to be your answer? Anybody? Are you going to be happy? You're okay to wait for, a couple of hours for the 5-course meal to be prepared, or just taste a spoon in each food. Okay. All right. See, if I was hungry, I would say, hey, I don't need 5-course meal. What I need is food right now. Right? So I guess, and we'll see why I talked about this in just while we go through the slides. Desika, can we go to the next one? Yeah. So here is what we're going to do today. We're going to look at what is MVP, Why should you build it? When should you build it? How do you build it? Right? And if you build it, what's the benefit for you? And what's the outcome? How does it help your venture if you go through that route of building an MVP? And lastly, Q&A, and that's when we can pick some examples and your real life examples and see how we apply that to your venture. So, Desika, if we can go to the next one. Some of you already answered this. What is MVP, right? See, everybody has an idea, which is what they're working on, right? It's a hypothesis. Now, hypothesis will always be true unless otherwise proven wrong, right? And that's what MVP is for, right? You really need to see whether your hypothesis is right. Otherwise, what would happen is you would spend a lot of time, you would spend a lot of money, you will spend a lot of resources thinking your hypothesis is right. And at the end of it, you will build something which is not required or which is not the exactly the product or a solution that your customer wants, right? See, any product in the world, if you take, it has no meaning if there's no customer for it. There's no user for it, right? So it's very important that we need to know whether our idea or hypothesis is right. Now, there is idea validation process, probably you know about it, but let's see when to the next step of that. How do you get from idea to really creating something? Now, some of you did say that it's a small version of your product, minimum thing that you want to take to the customer and validate, right? Now, see, it's very important to know what problem you're trying to solve. If you're not clear about it, it's extremely important that you know that so that you can build something that is meaningful, right? So during MVP, what you do is you use very little resources. See, as a startup, we don't have unlimited resources. We have only limited resources in terms of human resources, skill set, money, everything. So you should optimize what your resources and build something which will give you customer feedback on the core point, right, that you're trying to solve. Now let's take an example of Ola. What does it do? What does it bring to you? Anybody? What's the solution? Okay, so if we all know, you book an Ola with a click of a button, and you get the a vehicle of your choice to go from point A to point B, and you have all the information to make that decision, right? But if there is no car, if there is no way to get that information, if you can't get from Ola app, what you require is the car to go from point A to point B, the core is lost, right? Oh, does it allow you to pay by 5 different ways? Does it give you some other, ads? Does it give you discounts? All these are not the core to the Ola app, right? So you need to know what's the core problem you're trying to solve. What is the solution that you're bringing to the table, right? So, and we assume a lot, right? And what's important is it's okay to assume, right? Otherwise, how are we going to proceed? We're not going to know everything. But what's important is you go out in the market and you validate your assumptions rapidly without wasting a lot of resources and time. And that's what the core is when it comes to MVP. Desika, can we go to the next slide? Okay, now what does really MVP mean, right? What does it have? So it's important you need to know who are you going to bring this MVP to. It's a simpler version of your product idea, but who is the audience? Who is your key customer that you're going to go to, right? And at least one pain point that you're going to solve. That should be the essence of your MVP. It should be good enough. You can't really bring them to a solution which is too complicated, not so good that they turn away, right? So it should have a reasonably easy way to really try it out. It should be launched very quickly, and the iterations need to be very quick, right? This is all agile methodology, the lean methodology, where you fail fast, learn fast, and do the iterations, get to the next level. And what's extremely important is you should have some feedback mechanism, right? Why you're doing MVP is taking your hypothesis, bringing it to the market in the minimal way, and seeing if that is correct or not, so that you build the right product which is required in the market. So these are the 4 things that one should keep in mind when they're building the MVP. Desika, can we go to the next? Yeah. Now, why even build MVP, right? So here is the thing. Most of the startups fail, and it's a large, 90% of the startups fail, right? But 42% fail because there's no market requirement of their product. So you have an idea, you think it's a great idea, but there are no buyers for them, right? But MVP allows you to really test your hypothesis, right? Test your viability of your product in the market. Also, keep in mind, MVP development is why it's important. The companies who have done it, they're 3 times more likely to succeed with their product. And 78% companies say MVP has helped them to learn what customers want, right? And that led to a successful iteration that leads to successful product. So MVP plays a great role. Now, here's the thing which I want you to think about. And I know you all are working on something, right? So it's extremely important when you picked up a problem. Is that a painkiller? So when I talked about like I'm hungry and I need food now, you can't tell me I'm going to take 2 hours and bring you a 5-course meal. It doesn't solve my problem right now. It absolutely does not, right? So is it a painkiller? And then only people will buy it. If it's a vitamin, we all know we should take vitamins, we should be healthier, all of that. How many of us really take vitamins every day? Probably very, limited percentage that we will see, right? And candy, if it is just a candy, right? It's just nice to have. You have so much, competition in the market. There are so many choices for the candy. I like the dark chocolate. Obilakshmi likes white chocolate. Desika likes something else. Or we don't like the candies. We like Indian sweets, right? There's just unlimited options. So guys, it's absolutely important, and keep iterating until you've figured out, do you have a painkiller? And that's the only way you can succeed, because then people will pay for it. They will desperately look for that solution, right? And MVP really helps you get here. Now, it could be the smallest possible problem, but if you have a solution to that, it's a painkiller and people will buy from you. Is that making sense? Let me take a poll here. Is that making sense? And are you able to relate to what you're building right now? All right, 2 people said yes. Oh, I see the 3rd one. All right, 4th. Excellent. Excellent. You're listening to me then. All right, let's get to the next slide. Okay, now this slide talks about who should build an MVP, right? If you think the problem exists, but you're not sure if it is a desperate pain point, you should certainly do an MVP. You've seen the problem firsthand. A lot of times people get, inspired by their own problems or what they have seen firsthand, and that's why they want to build something, right? Or there are enough people who have expressed it to you multiple times. There's a problem. There may be a lot of solutions in the market, but you think they really don't solve the problem. Then there are many people who are actually lined up to find a solution to the problem you're solving, right? A great story. You think you know what to build and how to solve the problem. Folks, in any of these scenarios, right? You should still build the MVP. So what I'm trying to say is, in all scenarios, please test your hypothesis and with the real users, not in the lab, right? Not at your desk. It needs to be with the real users who you think you're building this product for. So it doesn't matter what conviction you have about the problem. You should still build something and then test it out. Is that something resonating, or you don't agree with agree with this? And if you don't, that's okay. We're going to discuss this. All right. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. Now we saw what is MVP, when should you build it. Now we're going to see how to build it, right? Again, going back to the point, right? You need to know who's your audience, right? Who are you building this product for? Who is your target audience? And then you may have multiple of those, right? Vitamins, let's take an example of real vitamin, right? Calcium. It could be taken by any age group. It can be taken by, any gender. It could be taken in any geography. So, you have a larger audience, right? But you need to pick at least one user persona that you think you want to test this hypothesis with, right? And what are the pain points? But pick one or two pain points that you really want to attack. And there has to be clarity. It can't be ambiguous in your mind, otherwise it's not going to work. If you are not clear, your audience is not going to be clear what you're giving to them, right? What you're offering to them. And your MVP should really solve the problem, right? It should give you the most mileage. It should have the impactful solution. And you should also look at who are the other players in the market. They may have similar solution, or they may have something which is a little different, but really brings their approach might be different, but they bring similar solutions to the market. And affordability, like you may have a solution, but you need to know whether people would buy that, right? Let's say in Bangalore, there is a lot of traffic, right? And it takes 3 hours to go from one place to another. Now, if you say, hey, I'm going to bring you an air taxi, and it's going to cost you 10,000 rupees every day to go to the office, right? Fabulous solution. It's a dream solution of we are all going to fly. Are we going to afford that? No. So you also have to see the affordability of your solution that you're bringing to the people, right? Now, MVP, as I said, we have to utilize minimum possible resources, right? So you can do the human automation. What does that mean? Initially it just appears that everything is automated, but you're doing things in the background and manually. For example, there is a famous story of Zappos. Have you heard about Zappos? It's an online shoe shop, right? Which started as an MVP. Literally, the guy actually took the pictures, went to the stores in New York, took some pictures of footwear, put it on one-page website saying that, would you buy this, right? And what hypothesis he was trying to build was, we buy everything online. Why not shoes? But we all know that we want to try the shoes before we buy them, right? So he came up with the concept that you can order 10 shoes, you try it at home, and if you don't like 9 of those or they don't fit, you return them. And how did he test that? He just created one page, put some pictures there of the local stores. Once he got the order, he went to the shop and then bought the product. He did not even keep it in the warehouse, right? So he did not have any inventory. Then he started realizing, oh, people are accepting this concept, right? Now, and then the return policy. And then everything he managed in the background manually. Same was Amazon, right? It started with selling the used books. And what they did was, again, a small website where there were books listed, and the shipping and everything was done all manually, right? There were no systems. But what was tested was the hypothesis, right? Will people buy books online? Will people buy shoes online? And if you give them a return policy where they can just buy it and return all of them, will they buy? And all they did was, minimal effort. So the prototype or the product was ready in a week's time. And that was long ago, right? And finally, the Zappos was, started as such a one-page website, was bought by Amazon later for $1.2 billion, right? So all these success stories, why I'm saying that is they all started as an MVP. And now it's much easier, right? There is no code approach. There are unlimited tools that are available where you don't have to sit and code. They will give you a basic product out and you can use it. Earlier, there were no frameworks. Now there are many frameworks for e-commerce website, right? You don't have to worry about login. You don't have to worry about the payments. Everything comes, it's bundled and you could use it. I'm just giving e-commerce as an example, but we will take other examples as we speak further. It could be one single feature your product may have 100 features, but whatever is the one feature that really is the painkiller is what you pick and go to the market, right? So you build that. Sometimes people have bandwidth and they will build an exceptionally viable product where they have all bells and whistles. It's very close to the final version. So everybody chooses a different path to test their hypothesis. It's based on what you're building, how long it takes, how much it costs, etc., right? Some people do not even build anything, right? What they would build is a video or a clickable mock-ups, right? Or clickable demo where you really explain your concept. You really explain how you're going to solve the problem. And that could be also an MVP. It doesn't need to be a full-fledged product. And sometimes people have these little features that they build. They delight the customers. Oh, this is so beautiful. And then you get to the next level where they really like it, and then you start building on top of it. Now, I hope you have started in your mind thinking about what's going to be an MVP for your product. Is that so? Are you thinking about it? All right, excellent. Excellent. All right. Can we go to the benefits? Now, we already talked a little bit about benefits, that idea validation with real users, right? And focus on the value proposition. Value proposition is always the painkiller and how differently you do it. That's your value proposition. Then you don't have a lot of resources, so you optimize that. You can get early customer acquisition, right? Some people would like it and they'll say, oh, we'll use your next version of it. We like it. And you actually take their help to build. And also, if you're raising funds, right, for your startup, then investors are absolutely interested in knowing what's the traction. Who's using the product? How many people are using it? How is it solving the problem, right? So if you keep building the product for a year and you don't have a real user, good luck. You're not going to get the funding, right? So it also helps you in that direction. And this whole iterative experimental process helps you de-risk. So your risks are minimized and you learn faster from the customers. See, your best mentor, best advisor is your customer. because they're the ones who pay for your product, right? So you should listen to them. Having said that, there is another school of thought, folks. Steve Jobs never went to the customers, right? He said, people don't know what they want. I'm going to build a fabulous product, bring it to the market. And that's what he did, right? And there are a few other solutions which were built this way. Everybody's approach could be different. But typically, this MVP has really, really helped companies succeed. Yes, if we can go to the next one. Now, once you've built the product, right, or built the MVP, and you have tested it with real users, what's the outcome? Either you are going to preserve and build on top of it. So what you have built, you extend that, right? You know that you're on the right path. Or you're going to pivot. So you're going to understand this is not what people want. They want something else. So I'm going to focus on something else than continuing what I'm doing, right? So there's a pivot there. And third one is, the reality is you might want to kill your idea right now and go back to the, drawing board, and then, figure it out how you want to approach this in a different way. Yeah, and these could be outcomes. But see, what has happened now is you didn't wait for a year to really go back to the whiteboard, right? You learned it very fast that this is not the right approach. This is not the right solution. Or the approach has to be changed, or maybe this is not required in the market, and you close that idea and you figure out what next, right? And which is absolutely fine. Not every idea is a success in the market, right? So you rather utilize your energy, your knowledge, your passion to something which is required. And this is required because you want your product idea to have a commercial success. All right. Okay. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. Oh, we are at the last line. Now, if you look at Zappos, you look at Amazon, you look at Ola, what they did. Oh, Airbnb. How many of you know about Airbnb? All right, great. So it also started as I'll give you that 2-minute story and then we discuss your products, right? Again, two founders who were in San Francisco, they didn't have enough money to pay for their, apartment. They were willing to go on the entrepreneurial journey. What they realized, there are large conferences that happen in San Francisco, and most of the hotels are sold out. And it's extremely expensive to find a place. So what they thought, any case we want to earn money, so they put out something saying that air, bed, and breakfast. And they said, okay, let's see if people want to come and sleep in our, living room on an air bed. So they get a room to sleep in the night, and it's very, reasonable, and they get a free breakfast in the morning, right? So that's what their offering was. Literally, guys, they put one page, pictures of their apartment, saying that this is what we would offer. People actually contacted them. And that was the MVP. It was a full MVP that, would somebody take extra room of your house and pay for it? And these are unknown people, right? The buyer and seller are unknown. Is this concept even digestible by people, right? And where Airbnb is today, right? We all, prefer that than going to the hotel. There are beautiful houses that you can stay at, right? At a reasonable cost, homely environment. So that's where it started. So again, if you look at these large companies, right? Look at where they started and how they started that journey. And they only put out little out to test the core, right, of their offering, once they knew that it is acceptable in the market, people will actually pay for it, then they built on it, right? They built upon it. And as you see, Amazon gets, LinkedIn started the same way, Twitter started with the same way, right? It's like all these examples are great examples. Read their stories if you have not. But, we can learn a lot from there, how to test your hypothesis. So I hope this has given you some food for thought. So I want you to remember few things. One is, have you identified what is the painkiller? What is your hypothesis? And really be open to the feedback that is it a painkiller, is it a vitamin, or it's a candy, right? Understand what are the, who's your audience? What's the one big problem that you want to solve for them? And be open for feedback. Sometimes you might want to enhance what you have done. Sometimes your idea is not the idea which people are looking for. And then you might want to kill that idea and work on something else. Or you make adjustments, right? Pivot. So I think if this is what if you can remember from this session, it will, certainly help you a lot. Okay, now I am done. I think I spoke a lot. Now let me allow you to speak.
Yes, I think we will just shoot off the questions. I think Shubham, can you go first since you
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we are Team Tonics, and I am representing this team from Uttarakhand. And so, first, I want to tell you what problem we are solving and how we come to this problem, right? So, first, I want to tell you some background of this problem. And we are three friends, right? So we were, planning some traveling. We want to travel to Badrinath. Yeah, have you heard about that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so first we, like many of the people who have not traveled to Badrinath, they will look like to many traveling websites, right? Like Make My Trip and Thomas Cook Air. So the traveling packages of all these sites were, very expensive, right? From Delhi to Badrinath, the Thomas Cook and Make My Trip were charging like 30K for 5 to 6 days only. So what we think of that, it was very expensive for the students like us, right? So it was great that one of my friends' relative was around that area, right? So we went to Badrinath, the place near Badrinath where the relative, resides. So he offered us like local food, and he also gives us the ideas of the other places which are not traveled through, the fixed traveling routes and fixed traveling vehicles. Like most of the packages offered, fixed routes and fixed traveling vehicles. Like we have to go only through this route, we have to go only through this vehicle, like buses and all. So what we are giving to the customers is the customers can uh, plan their travel in a flexible way. They can have many traveling methods. Like we have a place called Valley of Flowers, which cannot be traveled through bus and all. It would be great if we travel it by bike and all. So this is the one thing we are giving. The second one is many times the some one person who travel to the who would travel, it will be he or she will be like lonely. Sometimes he will need some some group or something. This sharing facility is also being provided by us, so that we can have a cultural mix and all. And like we are also providing some local foods and all, so that uh, the employment to the local area is also generated, and we are having a local representative in each of the areas you are traveling, so that you can feel like you have a relative in every area. Like,
Okay.
so this is the problem and the solution we are proposing.
Okay. And where are you in the journey, Shubham?
Right now, we are in the incubation stage. Like we have traveled to many travel vloggers in Instagram, and so they have also responded very positively on that.
No. So, I mean, are you building something or are you researching? Where are you in your journey?
Yeah, we have a prototypal website right now.
Okay.
Not
Now, yeah. So,
yeah.
based on what you heard today, can you, out of all the things, right? You talked about cost, you talked about travel methods, you talked about having a company, not being lonely on the expedition, and local experience, right?
Yeah.
Out of all of these, what is your core? What are you trying to solve? What do you
Can
think you want to solve?
then can you repeat, please? What do you?
What do you want to solve, which is a pain point, the core pain point that you want
Okay,
to solve through your solution?
we want to provide a different traveling experience to every customer.
Okay.
Like, yeah, means they are, not aware of the places which are very much beautiful than the known places. But these places are known only to the locals around that area, and they are not aware of the foods and local cuisines. Uh, you know, the
Okay. So
authentic cuisine.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, so that's fine, Shubham. So if somebody goes to Badrinath, do they go for food experience? Do they go for adventure? Do they go for why do people go there?
Yeah. So if they go for basically they only go for like experience and all, right? But they do not know what beyond that. I mean, if you will be traveling to a place, you will only go to the some heard of places only. You will
Okay.
not go to like, yeah.
Okay. So now if you're going to bring them different experience, is that going to cost them more or it's going to cost them less?
Yeah. That was the main point. Was it will cost them way less than what the companies are you know charging them.
Okay. So which people will come to you? Who's your audience? Like,
Right now, the target audience are like students, a student like us, who cannot, charge that large amount of money, and the solo travelers who want to experience the raw, beauty of that place.
okay. Now, based on what you heard today, what's going to be your MVP? If we can keep it short, Shubham, I want to cover a few more and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
maybe have separate discussions at another time.
Based of what I have listened today, I thought that MVP would be a uh, total package which we would be providing, complete details of that, and if we can sell it to a person or a traveler, that would be a, I guess,
Okay. Now,
probably.
have you sold this to anyone? Have you like without see this can be managed without even building a website.
Yeah.
Yeah, this can be completely offline. So
Yes.
I want you to identify what is it that you're trying to sell. I mean, Thomas Cook is also selling the experience. They're also selling going to that destination, right?
Yeah, Dhanalakshmi, you can go now. I mean, Shankara, any of you.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah, ma'am.
Shakti will go. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Our idea is simply about identifying the weeds and clearing it, ma'am. Our major target audience is the farmers of Tamil Nadu, ma'am. Here we researched a lot and asked some of the farmers. They are saying the weeds are their most problematic thing, ma'am. So we are planning to remove that weeds through some AI-enabled robot. So we are in the stage of building that AI, ma'am. We are collecting the data and gathering the data. We are in that stage, ma'am.
So are you saying weeds? I didn't.
Weed. The weed.
Unwanted plants, ma'am.
Yeah.
That is
Okay,
growing
okay.
along with
Okay, I understand. I understand. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
And so you're building a AI enabled robot?
Robot for clearing that weed, ma'am.
Okay.
Actually, it
Suggestion
is
to be
already.
applied now for the MVP.
Yeah. Where are you in the journey?
We are now collecting the data and gathering the data for training the AI, ma'am.
Right. But how would you test this with the farmers? Why would they buy this?
Because the weed is the most problem, ma'am. Because
No, I understand. See, that problem has been there, but
Actually,
why
there are
are they not able to
solutions, ma'am.
solve?
So in foreign countries, they use laser robotics. So to remove the weeds, they actually burn it down. So here we are providing at an affordable cost, like making a mechanical solution to remove the weeds by detecting it and then removing it. So it will also actually we have a container like in that robot. So we named it microzard. So this microzard as a container, we put that weeds into it, so it will turn it down into ashes, and then it will actually go back to the soil. So that actually contains phosphorus and potassium. That is a fertilizer which can act as fertilizer. So this is a whole process that actually goes on with this microzard. So right now, the farmers we actually inquired. They told that they need a solution for this weeds. It's a major problematic thing here. So to our knowledge that it is actually needed. Now we have to train the data AI model and then further proceed with making that actually come
Okay.
into.
Right. So what would be, so I understand. So killing the weed is the core solution you're providing, right?
Increasing the crop yield and also not using chemicals. So mostly farmers prefer using weedicides and pesticides for removing that. So weeds actually encounter pest too. So yeah.
Right. So do you have a prototype? Like, does your model understand some part, and can you show that to the farmer to see whether they would accept this kind of a solution? It may not remove all the weeds, right? Today it will remove couple of them.
Like if we are actually providing a data set where the crops are actually given, we can know we know what is a crop in that field, right, ma'am? So if we provide that to the AI model, it can actually detect the crop, so it will not cut it. So other things that are apart from the crop will be actually cut by that machine learning model. That is how it learns it. So we can actually take it down. Like farmers are expecting something for that. Right now they are actually doing manual labor for this, like giving money to people for removing the weeds, hand picking them.
Understood.
But in foreign countries, as I saw, they are using laser robotics, so to burn down with lasers.
Understood. Now I think there are few things, food for thought.
Food.
Food for thought is, what size this robot is going to be, right? Are
Yes.
people going to afford to really use it, right? And what's going to be the cost involved? And if it is something that is shared, if it is licensed, like you rent it for the time you require, then you need to see how the logistics are going to work, right? So I guess it's my suggestion to you is, yes, you're solving a problem, but figure out what's going to be the core. And I highly recommend, whether it's like somebody actually manually doing it with whatever chemical you're going to use, try it with a couple of farmers and see if they like that.
Yeah.
See, what your AI model is going to do is it's going to understand more types of crops, this, that, right? Which is all, I think, feathers in the hat, right? The core is something else.
Yeah.
So
actually,
I think,
put it down to a niche, ma'am, like to focus on only sugarcane, groundnut, maize. So they have major weed problems, so like that.
No, I understand. But what you need to do is figure out, what's going to be your minimum viable product, right? It may not be fully automated. It may not be a fully trained AI model, right? It understands basics, or you have a manual, actually mechanical thing, which will actually do end to end, and see if farmers would buy that. I'd
Surely.
highly recommend you doing that, because that's going to give you first-hand response from the farmers whether they would accept something like this,
Yeah, yes, ma'am. We'll work on it.
right? And Desika, I'm happy to have separate conversations with these guys at another
Sure.
time. Happy to do
Sure,
that.
sure. Yes, we will try to take as many now as
Yeah.
possible. And
Sure.
so, Jaiguru, you can go next.
So basically, we started as a simple idea where me and my friend was talking about like why there are a lot of chatbots. Like you get a chatbot answering from memory, answering from web, and also answering from PDFs, etc., etc. But there wasn't any chatbot like which could ask you questions. So it always answers your question, but it couldn't ask you a question. Like it couldn't start its own conversation, etc. So I straightly went to the chat GPT and asked, like, can you ask me a question on this topic and evaluate my understanding on this? But it said, like, as an AI model, I couldn't do that. Like, it was an year ago, but now it has changed and ChatGPT has evolved a lot now. But this is how we started. Like, we thought it would be cool, like, to create an application to replace a HR or someone, a placement trainer, etc. So when an HR asked me in the placement interview, like, what did you do in your college? I could say, ma'am, we built a chatbot to replace you and your job, ma'am. So that's what we built. So that's how we started. And later on, we decided to improve that, like not only asking questions and evaluating it. What if it could teach you the like the contents you are weak on, and also the topics that you want to learn. So that's what we tried.
Okay.
And we made
So,
we made a
Shiva,
pretty.
sorry to interrupt, but what's the use case? Who's going to use this?
So basically, we are trying to provide this to a student or someone who wants to upskill themselves. So, so the current stage of our project is it gives you a personalized like a training, like a learning path to you, and it will teach you from scratch to the place that where you want to be at your knowledge level. And what we see as a unique selling point is our AI model evolves according to a use case. So every day you use the AI model will evolve according to your use, and it will know all your preferences, all your data, like your friends, like what are the topics you have learned and how much knowledge you have on each topic, and what would be the better way if we want to explain the topic to you. So that's how we see our project stands out from the rest of the chatbots you see out there. So that's our project now.
Okay, so is it a project or you want to convert this into a venture? Like, are you looking to commercialize this?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we have been talking with a lot of startup CEOs and like other technical persons to convert this. Like it's mostly we have around 80% of the prototype ready, but we want to commercialize this into a startup that can be used by a lot of students and can make a change in the society, ma'am. So that's what
Yeah.
we are trying to do.
Excellent. So have you talked to students? Do they want this product?
Like yes, ma'am. Like initially we are focused on government schools, like where they don't have any internet. That was our first stage. So we like gave it to the schools nearby, like my friend's father's headmaster. So we have talked with a lot of teachers also. So that's how we started, and we are now currently like improving stage by stage, ma'am.
Okay, and will this be a free product or will people pay for this?
So we are trying to go in a two-tiered approach. So the product for government schools and the rural areas will be free and will be provided as a service. But the second model, which has a lot of more features and also like the extra feature that I have talked about, will be like a freemium model. So you get some features as free, but also you have to pay for to get the rest of the features, ma'am. So that's what we are
Okay.
planning to do.
So are you saying that you have tested the MVP
Like yes,
with
ma'am.
the
So
government schools?
yes, that's an offline machine, ma'am. So like that's for the as said, that's for the rural areas, and to the second product we are currently building, ma'am. Like which is
Okay.
expected to gain revenue for the startup.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Shiva.
Stand-up creation, Harsh, you can go now.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. It's nice to talk to you. I am Harsh Pandit from Tandav Creation, and ma'am, we are trying to making art and craft from the basically coconut shell. So you know that we are going in a temple, and numbers of coconut shell are waste are there, and it may be in monsoon it create like a dangerous mosquitoes are there, and then it may be harmful to us. So we think about that, make a particular solution for the coconut shell and make something art. So we try to make a coconut shell in different products like glass or wine glass or like a cups, mug or a pen stand or kitchens and like a spoon,
Sure. Yeah.
piece
Yeah.
or like that, right? So, ma'am, now I am the facing, and we our team are facing the question is there, ma'am, how to identify the right price of right product?
Okay.
Because the ma'am, the at that time the like some people are already do this work and they having a price in a too much higher price. But the question is that, ma'am, the selling ratio, the how much the selling ratio are there, and we are not able to the identify the perfect price for the our audience to they buy it and we can sell it. Because the our product is ready, we make more than the 30 to 40 product now ready to sell. So we are ready for the like we complete the prototype and our product are ready to sell. But now the question is that how to get a exact price amount from the particular product, how we do for that?
Sure. So I think what's important is to understand who's your audience. Who do you want to sell this for? Right? So, I'll give you an example. There are so many types of cars, right? So, Tata builds certain cars for use in India, right? And they're pretty reasonable. Then you have a BMW, you have a Mercedes, right? These are all only cars, right? What they do is you drive and you go from point A to point B. The
Yes.
luxuries are different, right? But the audiences are different. Whom they are built for is different, right? So, who's your audience? Who do you want to sell this to? Have you identified that?
Yes, ma'am. Like we know the what are their audience, but now question is that what is the particular price, and another question is that how to know in our area that the person are the really needed the art and craft and like coconut, because we are from the Gujarat. So in Gujarat the coconut sell art and craft not much higher than the comparing to south. So it may be difficult to us to communicate with Gujarat people. Like we make a coconut candle. So in that our area the using of ratio of candle is very less. So that's why we facing the problem to selling them. So that's the question. And how do we go for the digital platform to selling this product? So
Yeah, so I would say, first sell it directly before you even think about digital. Because as you said, first of all, you need to really create that value proposition why somebody should buy this, right?
yes.
Yeah. And, the price points, who's your competition, what kinds of candles are available in the market, right? And if you were to
Yes.
compete with them, what is your value proposition? Why should people buy from you, right? And you can price it whatever you want. See, some people buy products if they're expensive, they think it's better.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't matter, how much it costs you for building it, right? Sometimes it looks attractive, and you would pay much higher price than what it should be, sold for. So consumer markets are completely different. I think you need to figure out Who is your target audience? How are you going to reach them, right? And that
Okay,
will
ma'am.
decide your pricing strategy. I think I
Yes.
would highly recommend identify whom you're going to sell it to. And then you can get to the pricing strategy.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, understood, ma'am.
All right. Thanks.
Mihir, you can go ahead, Mihir.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. I am Mihir. I'm from Bangalore. So our venture is mainly concerned with making, metal-based powders for the lubricating industry. So our main focus is on the lubrication manufacturers, and I'll tell you their pain point. So the pollution control boards, they actually have very stringent measures with respect to all these chemicals and manufacturing. And so our USP is that we make these metal-based powders from electronic waste using environmentally safe chemicals.
Okay.
So we actually, got together with our alumni, and that person is actually in the industry. So we collaborated with them, and we tested our powder. It was superior than existing powders. So yeah, this is basically our MVP, and we have done it on a lab scale.
Okay.
And, yeah, we want to actually start production. We have also got an initial order as well.
Excellent. Excellent. And are you targeting specific industries?
Yes, ma'am. All the lubricating manufacturers in the future, we are forecasting that they'll face problems because the environmental, ministry, they're going to make the measures even more stringent. So our, method is patented, and so when that pain point actually, comes into play, right now it's a vitamin, but it will be a painkiller in the future. So a lot of industries, will require this, and that, gap we want to monetize.
No, I agree. I guess we call it a danda, right? Regulatory requirements.
I've talked to many people. It's a real pain point.
Yes. Excellent, Mir. I guess you have something great going on there. I think in your industry, you need to look at your suppliers.
Yes,
and then who's going to buy, and then I think going deeper with specific kind of industry or the manufacturing companies, right? I guess will be great for you because you can create something which is deeper solution. But excellent. I guess I like that you use the pain point, whether it's vitamin or it's a painkiller.
Yes, ma'am. And that we are also the only people who are doing it as of now because we have already forecasted what's going to come. So yeah, we can definitely monetize that.
Excellent. Thanks.
So I'm going to keep it short with the two last questions we have here. One is, so we spoke about testing it with people, and some products are like a B2B sort of industries as well, right? Like when they talk about building some problems which are targeting environment, like Mihir said, and all of that. So then in that case, how do you sort of build an MVP around that? Like if it is a B2B sort of aspect, so how do we test it in that way?
Oh, then you test it with the business. That's your customer. So it's not the individual I was talking about. If I wasn't very clear, if your solution is B2B, then you go to the businesses who are your potential customers and test with them.
Okay, so
does that answer, or is there anything specific?
Yeah, because some of them are focusing on certain environmental problems, so they want to understand, like, if it is we are solving environmental based problems, or then how do we test it in that sense? So that's what they wanted to understand. How do we do it?
Yeah, see, there are two things always remember. There are users and then there are customers. Users are the ones who are going to actually use your product, which could be individuals in a company, and your buyer is going to be a business, right? Or so your buyers may be different, the end users might be different, right? So during MVP, it's extremely important to identify who you are getting this product in hands of, right? And when it comes to the benefits of that product, your value proposition needs to be attractive to the buyer, right? And your product should be tested by the users. So I don't know which environment kind of solutions, but I can answer that if I know an example of what you're talking about.
Probably they got the point, but we have just one more. So this is from another team who's working on, again, like a website sort of thing where the e-waste, when you have e-waste, the selling and the buyers, like, connecting those who have e-waste and those who want to buy the e-waste. So they're trying to build this, and they have already done the prototype in this stage, but they're now understanding that maybe depending on the market research and all, it's time to kind of change sort of things. Certain things might need changes. So do we just go with this product and test it and then change it, or should we now itself sort of make change?
I can't answer that question unless I know intricacies, right? Yeah.
Right.
So what is it that you think you need to change? But hey, you have a buyer right here. Mihir just said that he takes the e-waste, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you have a buyer, somebody whom you can test with.
Understood. I think with that, yeah. So one more thing is, again, a platform where they're connecting investors with projects, right? Connecting investors with sustainability-based project, the impact investors get access to these products, and they'll have particular dashboards or domains and all these details according to their preferences. So according to them, there is not such a platform that exists. So what do you think of the idea, and what kind of MVP should they focus on? That's the last question.
Yeah, I would, there are so many other platforms in the market. So I would first look at what is your value proposition, right? What is it that you're going to do differently? Because that's, that's absolutely important to know. Or if you're doing exactly the same thing, then you need to know what audience you're going after. For example, there is, let's say, a paint company, right? So there is Asian Paints, which started at selling in the predominantly in the bigger cities. But as you go to tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 kind of places, very, very small places, there will be other brands there. So they're both, producing paint. Where they differentiate is what market they are servicing, right? So differentiator could be anything. It doesn't need to be a product, needs to be different, right? Who you're catering is could be your value proposition, or it could be your differentiator. So identify what is your differentiator and who you're catering it to. Then you will be able to answer your question, what is it that you're going to build in terms of MVP. Because there was one slide where I said, you need to know which is the pain point and who is your target audience.
I think that answers that. One last, again, we have one pop-up now. So when we are building MVP also, since it's a tech-based sort of thing, what about the data privacy and security? Like, how strong should we consider all these legal stuff when we do this MVP? That's one question.
Okay. You should consider to some extent. The good part is, and again, this is like, multiple layers of security, right? And data privacy. I think you should, readily available. There are a lot of solutions which you can integrate. I don't know what the platform is. So if you are collecting data from consumers, what's the platform? I can't answer this without knowing what the solution is.
They are building, I think, Marshall's team, right? Yeah, they are building for legal, cases and all. They're trying to build an AI into the courtroom, basically, for the courts and all. So I think that's why she's because the cases and the sensitivity of each case and training that.
But what's the solution though?
They are trying to build a platform where for each basically integrating AI into the courtroom for cases and for lawyers or getting that sorted in
So,
the courtroom.
this solution will do some of their tasks. Is that what it is going
Sort
to
of
do?
the task delegation or like getting lawyers matched, all the things surrounding the same in the courtroom, basically.
Okay. At an MVP level, first identify, I'm sure you have 2 or 3 personas, user personas. Identify one of them where there is minimal data privacy, uh, comes into the picture, and maybe I would go with that. If not, you will have to at least have, the disclaimers, privacy policy, and which are readily available right now. At least cover your company, make sure that you have those disclaimers out there. And there are basic things at the database level that you could consider, where there is data privacy and security is taken care of. And you can always use out of the box solutions. There are AWS or Azure platforms, which may have basic security already built in. It comes in as a solution. It may cost you something, but if you really want to test the market, I would put in that little money instead of trying to build everything ground up. I think that's another thing which is extremely important, that you want to save your resources. I don't know if that answers the question,
Yes.
but I'm
Yes,
happy
yes,
to have a conversation.
I think
separately.
I have one final thing which we would like to hear. I think every student would like to hear. The main thing is, see, everyone is really in love with their solution more than the problem that always happens. And from our previous sessions, we have learned this, myself included, like I've learned that we just convince ourselves that this is a problem when in reality it's kind of not. So how did you go through that journey of like when you started your venture as a first generation entrepreneur, like when you built your MVP and then built a lot of software for a lot of other companies, like how did it go? If you can share a few words and then we'll close up. Yeah.
Sure. Everything I'm talking is, the lessons learned hard way. I did all the mistakes that I shouldn't have done. And that's why I'm taking time to talk to you guys that, please don't do those mistakes, right? So there were a lot of things, we did exceptionally viable product when we went out to the market, where there were a lot of things put together. Again, it was my product was mobile security for enterprises. So it was a B2B mobile security, again, a very niche space, needed a lot of things for enterprises before you can get into the door. But in the hindsight, there were a lot of things I did which I should not have done. Okay. So, there were conversations that happened. What I did though, I got smarter, right? See, when you go on the entrepreneurial journey, there are 2 things that happen. Either you become smarter or you become wealthier, and sometimes it's both, right? So if you are lucky, then you become smarter as well as wealthier. And I learned a lot, and there were a lot of things that then I started testing smaller things, whether it's go to market, whether it's approach, whether it's the product, the feature. Every time I gave myself 3 months to go out and look at the results of it, otherwise pivot, otherwise know where I should not be spending time. So I learned it little hard way. You guys are lucky. There's so much right now available in terms of startup ecosystem. I don't know if I answered your question.
The main thing was to understand, because now the MVP stage, the clarity on how to build MVP or how to creatively do the minimum to get like the result that's where the gray area is for most of the students.
No, a lot of times now, I'm looking at some concept and I'm actually not going to build anything. I'm going to do it manually. Unless I am convinced that this is a problem and which needs a solution, I am not going to build anything. So I have learned this hard way.
I think that is the biggest lesson. So before we build, it's about like actually talking to people and knowing
Yes.
the necessary to build it. Then you can go all in to build it.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to test your hypothesis. You think it's going to solve the problem. Maybe what you're thinking doesn't solve the problem, but something else. So why not do that in a faster way and then pivot quickly and change your approach so that you actually solve the problem?
I think that is the most wisdom that we got. And thank you so much for such an amazing session and amazing patience to listen to all our students' ideas. We would have loved more time with you, but I'm sure they're gonna connect and maybe reach out to you over email, drop some of their ideas to you and get the feedback because this system or ecosystem that we're enabling have very high value, and it's to enable innovations, and your support in this has been very, very critical. Thank you so much for adding so much value today. We are super, super grateful for such a sweet guest. And as I told you, our first female speaker. So I'm personally very, very thankful to you because I really wanted to bring more, female role models for our students. So thank you so much for staying with us today, despite all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much and have a nice night. Thank you so much. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. All the best.